I had what I thought was a perfect marriage for 8 years. Sophia and I built a beautiful life together, but something changed. She became distant, critical, completely different from the woman I married. During our final argument, after I had spent hours preparing a special anniversary dinner she barely acknowledged, Sophia looked me straight in the eyes with cold indifference. The words that shattered our marriage came out casually, as if commenting on the weather. "Plenty of men want me, Maxwell. I am doing you a favor by staying." In that moment, I knew exactly what I had to do. Before I tell you what happened after I walked away, let me know where you are watching from, and hit that like button if you have ever had to make a difficult decision to preserve your dignity. I am a software developer based in Seattle. My days revolve around code problem solving and creating elegant solutions to complex issues. 10 years ago, at my college friend Ryan's wedding, I met Sophia. She worked in marketing, had an infectious laugh, and possessed this vibrant energy that lit up every room. Our connection was immediate and powerful. We talked until sunrise that night, exchanging stories, dreams, and phone numbers. Our romance moved quickly. Within 6 months, we were inseparable. By our first anniversary, I proposed at the same waterfront restaurant where we had our first date. Her tears of joy and emphatic yes became one of my most treasured memories. 2 years after meeting, we had a beautiful ceremony in a rustic vineyard just outside the city, surrounded by friends and family who celebrated our love. The first 5 years were everything I had ever hoped marriage would be. We bought a charming craftsman home in a quiet neighborhood, planted a garden together on weekends, and supported each other through career changes and challenges. Sophia cheered me on when I landed a prestigious position at a growing tech firm. I stood proudly beside her as she climbed the corporate ladder at her marketing agency. But around year 6, subtle shifts began to appear. At first, they were easy to dismiss. Sophia became increasingly focused on her appearance, spending more time at the gym, and investing in designer clothes that stretched our budget. Her social media presence became a priority, with endless selfies and carefully crafted posts about our perfect life that sometimes barely resembled reality. After her promotion to senior account manager, Sophia introduced me to her new circle of colleagues. They were sleek, ambitious professionals who talked about vacation homes and luxury brands with casual familiarity. I noticed how Sophia changed around them, laughing a bit too loudly, touching her hair more frequently, making subtle comments that created distance between us. "Maxwell is more of a homebody," she would explain when declining invitations on my behalf. The late nights at work events grew more frequent. Her explanations became vaguer. Client meeting ran long, or team building session were common texts I would receive while dinner grew cold on our table. When she did come home, her perfume smelled different, stronger, as if freshly applied. Our conversations diminished. When I asked about her day, responses became brief and disinterested. When I shared my accomplishments or challenges, her eyes would drift to her phone. The woman who once found my passion for coding endearing now rolled her eyes when I discussed projects. "Maybe you should dress more professionally," she suggested one morning, eyeing my standard tech company casual wear with disapproval. "Thomas always wears tailored suits, and he is younger than you." Thomas, her agency's creative director, became a frequent comparison. His ambition, his fitness regimen, his investment portfolio, all became measuring sticks against which I apparently fell short. I tried to reignite our connection. I planned surprise date nights at her favorite restaurants. I booked a weekend getaway to the mountain lodge where we had spent our honeymoon. I even started joining her at the gym, though I preferred my morning runs along the waterfront. Her responses were lukewarm at best. The weekend trip was cut short by another work emergency that required her immediate attention. The tension between us grew when I noticed text notifications lighting up her phone at odd hours. Once, while reaching for the salt across the dinner table, I glimpsed a message preview from Thomas that disappeared when Sophia snatched her phone away. "Work stuff," she said curtly. Nothing interesting. Our first major argument erupted when she returned home at 1:00 a.m. on a Tuesday, claiming another late client meeting. Which client requires champagne, I asked, noticing the distinctive smell on her breath. Her defensive reaction and deflection only deepened my suspicions and the growing pit in my stomach. Over the next few months, I felt our marriage slipping through my fingers, despite my desperate attempts to hold on. Each day, the woman I loved seemed to fade further away, replaced by someone I barely recognized. I just could not understand what had gone wrong or how to fix it. Over the next 3 months, Sophia's behavior became increasingly dismissive. Small criticisms evolved into outright contempt. My cooking was bland, my jokes were embarrassing, my career ambitions were limited. Each comment chipped away at my self-esteem, leaving me questioning my own worth. While paying bills one afternoon, I discovered several credit card charges for upscale restaurants on evenings when Sophia claimed to be working late. One charge particularly stood out: a $400 dinner at Canlis, one of Seattle's most romantic restaurants. On a night she told me she was attending a marketing seminar. When confronted with the receipts, Sophia barely attempted to hide her irritation. We entertain clients at nice places. Maxwell. That is how business works. In the real world. Her dismissive tone suggested I was naive for questioning her. When I asked why, client entertainment required reservations at 9:00 p.m. On a Saturday, she accused me of spying on her and stormed out. Our arguments increased in frequency and intensity. What once had been loving discussions became verbal sparring matches with Sophia, often resorting to personal attacks when logical arguments failed her. Maybe if you were more ambitious, you would understand how real professionals network, she snapped during one particularly heated exchange. When I suggested marriage counseling, Sophia actually laughed. We do not need some stranger telling us how to communicate. Maybe you just need to accept that people grow and change. The subtext was clear: she had grown while I had stagnated. After 8 years of marriage, our anniversary arrived. Despite the tension between us, I wanted to make it special. I left work early, stopped at the farmer's market for fresh ingredients, and spent hours preparing her favorite meal: roasted salmon, with herbs from our garden, wild rice, pilaf, and chocolate soufflé for dessert. I set the table with our wedding. China opened a bottle of the same wine we had shared on our first date and waited. 6 o'clock came and went. 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock. My texts went unanswered. The food grew cold. The candles burned low. At 9:30, I heard her key in the lock. Sophia breezed in designer shopping bags in hand, not a word of apology on her lips. You could have texted that you were making dinner, she said, glancing dismissively at my hours of effort. I already ate with the team. Thomas. Just landed the Richardson account. Something inside me finally broke. It is our anniversary, Sophia. She blinked momentarily, thrown off guard, then shrugged. We can celebrate this weekend if it is that important to you. The argument that followed was unlike any we had ever had. Years of bottled frustrations erupted. When I mentioned my suspicions about her late nights and weekend emergencies, Sophia became defensive, then offensive. Maybe if you were more exciting, I would rush home, she countered. Do you know how boring you have become? Thomas says. Thomas again, I interrupted. Maybe you should be married to Thomas instead. Her laugh was cold-cutting. Thomas appreciates ambition and success. He understands the importance of connections and appearances, and I do not, because I care more about substance than status, because I value honesty in our marriage. That is when she said it, the words that would end our marriage. With a look of almost pity, Sophia declared, Plenty of men want me, Maxwell. I am doing you a favor by staying. The room went silent. In that moment, everything became crystal clear. For months, perhaps years, I had been fighting to save a marriage that existed only in my memory. The woman standing before me was not my wife, not the person I had fallen in love with. Or perhaps she was, and I had simply refused to see the truth. I slept in the guest room that night, though slept would be generous. I stared at the ceiling until dawn, reviewing our years together and coming to the painful realization that I deserved better than this. Better than being someone's consolation prize. Better than loving someone who saw me as a favor. The next morning, I waited until Sophia left for work. I packed 2 suitcases with essential clothes, my laptop, and a few sentimental items. Photos of my parents, a watch from my grandfather, books that meant something to me. I left my wedding ring on the dresser alongside a simple note: I am giving them their chance. Goodbye. The drive to my friend Jake's apartment was a blur of tears and unexpected relief. As painful as this decision was, it also felt like removing a heavy weight I had been carrying for too long. I had finally chosen myself. The first week at Jake's place was a fog of disbelief and pain. I called in sick to work, barely ate, and spent hours staring at my silent phone. Sophia's reaction came in predictable stages. First, confusion. Her texts suggested she thought I was throwing a tantrum and would return once I had calmed down. When I did not respond, anger followed. Voicemails filled with accusations and blame. How could I be so childish? How dare I embarrass her like this? When anger failed to produce results, Sophia switched to sporadic affection. Texts reminiscing about good times, suggesting we talk things through. I maintained my distance, responding only to practical matters about the house and our shared accounts. With Jake's support, I found a small but comfortable apartment near my office. The process of separating our lives physically mirrored the emotional separation that had already occurred. Each decision about furniture, kitchenware, and shared possessions felt like cutting another tie to my past life. I consulted with a lawyer and initiated divorce proceedings. The legal documents made everything painfully official. Checking those boxes, irreconcilable differences, seemed inadequate to describe the death of 8 years together. But it was the truth. Sophia alternated between making the process difficult and attempting reconciliation. One day she would dispute every financial detail. The next, she would suggest dinner to talk about us. The emotional whiplash was exhausting, but I remained firm in my decision. 3 weeks after I left, I received a text from a former colleague who had moved to Sophia's marketing firm. Attached was a photo from a company happy hour from 2 months earlier. There was Sophia sitting much too close to a tall, well-dressed man I recognized as Thomas, his arm casually draped around her waist. "Thought you should know," the text read. "This has been going on for at least 6 months. Sorry, man." Although I had suspected as much, seeing confirmation still knocked the wind out of me. That night was my rock bottom. Alone, in my barely furnished apartment, I allowed myself one final evening of grief and anger. I deleted every photo of Sophia from my phone, blocked her on all social media, and poured the last of our wedding bourbon down the drain. The next morning I woke with a strange sense of clarity. The path forward was entirely mine to choose. I started with small steps. I reconnected with friends I had lost touch with during my marriage, many of whom Sophia had subtly discouraged me from seeing. "They are kind of immature. Do not you think," she would say after dinner with my old college roommates, or Jennifer's husband kept staring at me. "I do not think we should spend time with them anymore." I joined a gym near my new apartment and established a routine that helped channel my restless energy. The physical exertion offered relief from the constant thought spiral, and slowly I began to see changes, not just in my body, but in my confidence. After a month of minimal contact, I started therapy. Dr. Linden helped me recognize the subtle patterns of emotional manipulation that had characterized the later years of my marriage. "You were in a relationship with someone who prioritized external validation over genuine connection," she explained. "That is not a reflection on your worth." At work, I threw myself into a challenging new project, designing a security protocol that had stumped our team for months. The focus required pushed thoughts of my failed marriage aside, at least during office hours. My dedication caught the attention of senior management, and I was offered a promotion to lead developer with a substantial raise and equity options. I also enrolled in advanced coding classes to update my skills and attended local tech meetups. At one such event, I presented my solution to our security challenge and received significant recognition. The knowledge that I was thriving professionally, while everything else seemed to be falling apart, gave me a foothold of stability. 6 months after walking away, I barely resembled the defeated man who had left his wedding ring behind. My apartment now felt like home, with books on shelves and art. I had chosen myself on the walls. My social calendar filled with genuine friendships. My reflection showed someone who had lost the perpetual look of anxiety that had become my default expression in the final year of my marriage. The industry award came unexpectedly. My security protocol had been implemented across our platform and had garnered attention for its elegant solution to a common problem. A tech magazine featured a profile of my work, including a professional photo and interview about my design process. I did not mention my personal struggles, but spoke about resilience and approaching problems from new angles when old solutions fail. 3 days after the article was published, a text from Sophia appeared on my phone. Saw your feature in Tech Solutions. Congratulations. After 6 weeks of silence, this casual message caught me off guard. I waited a day before responding, with a simple, "Thank you." The exchange ended there, but something significant had shifted. For the first time, seeing her name on my phone triggered no emotional storm, no anger, no longing, no regret, just peaceful indifference. 8 months after I left our home, my new life had taken shape in ways I never could have anticipated. The promotion to senior developer had come with challenging responsibilities that stretched my skills and confidence. My renovated downtown apartment with its view of Elliott Bay had become a sanctuary of peace filled with books, music, and occasionally friends for dinner or game nights. With Jake's encouragement, I had even begun dating again. At a coding conference in Portland, I met Eliza, a brilliant data scientist, whose intelligence was matched by her warmth. Our relationship developed slowly, built on mutual respect and genuine interest in each other's thoughts. The contrast to my marriage was stark and refreshing. Perhaps most healing was the rekindled relationship with my parents. During my marriage, Sophia had subtly created distance between us, finding reasons to skip family gatherings or cutting visits short. "Your mother is so traditional," she would complain. "Your father never asks about my career." Without her constant critique, I rediscovered the comfort of family dinners and long conversations with the people who had always believed in me. The first sign that Sophia's life was unraveling came through our mutual friend Rachel. Thomas left her, she mentioned during a coffee catch-up. For some junior account executive, Sophia is taking it pretty hard. I nodded, surprised by my lack of satisfaction at this news. I wished her neither happiness nor pain, just the clarity I had finally found. A week later, the first message arrived. "Been thinking about you. Hope you are doing well." I responded politely but briefly. This opened a floodgate. Texts became more frequent, their tone increasingly desperate. "I miss talking to you. No one understands me like you did. I made some mistakes. I think about them every day." From Rachel, I learned more details. Thomas had indeed left Sophia for a younger colleague. The affair had apparently been going on during the latter months of our marriage, just as I had suspected. Additionally, Sophia's spending habits had left her financially strained. The designer wardrobe, expensive dinners, and luxury weekends that had once been charged to our joint accounts were now solely her responsibility, and her salary, while generous, could not support her lifestyle. The messages escalated to late-night phone calls. The first time her number appeared on my screen at 1130 p.m., I let it go to voicemail. Her tearful message revealed an intoxicated Sophia, lamenting all she had lost. More calls followed, some of which I answered briefly, maintaining firm boundaries while not being cruel. I never appreciated what we had, she admitted during one such call. I was so focused on impressing people who ultimately did not matter. While part of me felt sympathy for her situation, a stronger part recognized the manipulation. Her regret seemed rooted more in the consequences to herself than in genuine remorse for the pain she had caused. The unexpected visit came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was leaving a meeting when I spotted her in the lobby of my office building. Sophia looked thinner, her usually immaculate appearance, slightly disheveled dark circles visible beneath her eyes, despite careful makeup. "Maxwell," she said, her voice quivering, "I need to talk to you. Please." We walked to a nearby coffee shop, finding a quiet corner table. What followed was a tearful confession and apology that once would have shaken me to my core. "I was selfish and cruel," she admitted. "I took you for granted while chasing validation from people who never really cared about me." She confessed to the affair with Thomas that had begun months before our separation, described her emptiness since he had left, and lamented the financial strain of maintaining appearances without our combined income. But mostly she spoke of regret. "I threw away the one person who truly loved me," she said, reaching for my hand across the table. "I know I do not deserve another chance, but I have changed. I understand what matters now." As she spoke, I felt a strange sense of calm. The woman sitting across from me had once been the center of my world, the source of both my greatest joy and deepest pain. Now I could see her clearly, a flawed human being who had made choices based on insecurity and external validation. "Sophia," I said gently, "I forgive you, but that chapter of our lives is closed." Her eyes widened, as if she had expected a different response. "But we had 8 years together. All that history, all those memories, and they will always be part of us," I acknowledged. "But I have found peace in my new life. I hope you will find the same." She began to cry, in earnest. Then, mascara tracking down her cheeks. "I still love you, Maxwell. No one has ever known me like you do. The problem was that I never really knew you," I replied softly. "Or maybe you never really knew yourself." Our final meeting took place in our lawyer's office for the signing of divorce papers. Sophia made one last attempt, asking if we could postpone, suggesting counseling, even offering to sign a postnuptial agreement that would protect me financially if things did not work out. I declined with kindness, but firmness. "We both deserve authenticity," I told her. "What we had became a performance. I want more than that now. And deep down, so do you." As we signed the documents that officially ended our marriage, Sophia asked the question that had clearly been haunting her. "Is there someone else I considered Eliza, who had brought such unexpected joy into my life?" "Yes," I answered honestly, "but that is not why this is ending. This is ending because it already ended a long time ago, when respect and honesty left our relationship. 6 months later, my relationship with Eliza continued to deepen. We moved with intention and honesty, both aware of the scars I carried and committed to building something genuine. Where Sophia had sought to change me, Eliza appreciated my authentic self. Where my marriage had become a performance for others, this relationship flourished in private moments of real connection. Occasionally, I still receive texts from Sophia. They have evolved from desperate pleas to more measured check-ins. I respond with polite distance, wishing her well without opening the door to deeper engagement. From mutual friends, I hear she has started therapy and scaled back her lifestyle to match her means. I genuinely hope she finds the happiness that eluded her during our time together. The journey from that devastating moment when Sophia declared, "Plenty of men want me," to where I stand today, has been painful, but profoundly educational. I learned that self-respect must be non-negotiable, that love without mutual appreciation withers, and that sometimes walking away is the strongest choice you can make. Most importantly, I discovered that losing what I thought I wanted led me directly to what I actually needed. True connection can only exist where there is genuine respect and real love sees you for who you are, not what you provide or represent. Have you ever had to make the difficult choice to walk away from someone who could not see your worth? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more journeys of self-discovery. Remember, you deserve to be with someone who never makes you feel like they are doing you a favor by staying. Thank you for listening. And until next time, trust your worth and honor your heart.